What if the QVC host you've trusted for decades is now the very reason fans are turning off their TVs? What if, after all the warmth, the nostalgia, and the countless late-night shopping marathons, that smiling, familiar face is now sparking something completely different? Frustration, disbelief, and backlash. Because that's exactly what's happening right now. With Jane Treacy, yes, Jane Treacy, one of QVC's longest-running and most iconic hosts, is now facing something she's likely never experienced in her decades-long career: a full-blown viewer revolt. And this time, viewers aren't whispering behind the scenes. They're loud, they're blunt, and they're done pretending everything's fine. The comment sections are exploding. Forum threads are piling up. TikToks, YouTube videos, even entire Facebook groups are calling her out. So today, we're breaking it all down. The backlash, the moment everything changed, and the viewer reactions Jane Treacy probably wishes would stay hidden. Let's rewind for a second and start at the beginning. For millions of viewers, Jane Treacy wasn't just another face on TV, she was QVC, the kind of host who made a slow Sunday feel like a warm visit from a friend. Her voice was familiar, her energy radiant, and her signature style of storytelling made every product feel personal. From the late 1980s onward, Jane helped define what QVC was. Whether it was late-night fashion showcases, seasonal holiday marathons, or those emotional jewelry segments, Jane had a gift. She could take a cardigan and turn it into a memory, a ring and turn it into a legacy. She wasn't just selling, she was connecting. Some fans even referred to her as Aunt Jane, a voice of comfort and consistency across changing times. And for a long time, it worked beautifully. But lately, that charm has started to wear thin, and the cracks are showing. Over the past few years, something started to change. At first, it was subtle. A few viewers would comment on her tone. Others would note how every presentation seemed to turn into a personal anecdote. It wasn't anything major, just murmurs. But those murmurs didn't go away. Instead, they grew louder. Post after post, comment after comment, until suddenly, a new pattern emerged. Viewers weren't feeling the connection anymore. They were feeling exhausted, and the word that kept coming up: overbearing. Longtime fans who once found Jane's delivery heartfelt now say it feels forced, like a one-woman show. And then came the moment that turned everything upside down. During what was supposed to be a lighthearted 50 and fabulous beauty segment, Jane went completely off script. Out of nowhere, she stared straight into the camera and said, "Don't talk about my children in a bad way on social media. I am that mother." Then she added, "See, everybody thinks I'm sweet, but I'm not." The moment was tense. Her tone, serious. Her expression, not her usual cheerful self. And just like that, what should have been a fun product demo became a public confrontation. Fans were stunned. It wasn't playful, it wasn't professional, it was personal. Too personal. What viewers were expecting was charm and warmth. What they got felt more like a threat. Here's where things get even messier. Jane didn't just say, "Don't talk about my children." She made it clear that she'd seen what was being said online. And she was angry. The issue? For years, Jane had made her daughters part of her QVC storytelling. She told stories about their prom dresses, their birthdays, their Christmas gifts, what shoes they wore, what handbags they loved. She turned her family into a familiar narrative, one that made her feel relatable and authentic. But now, viewers were saying she was drawing a line, and they weren't allowed to cross it, and that, for many, didn't sit well. One fan wrote, "You can't use your daughters to sell jewelry for 20 years and then lash out when someone makes a comment. It doesn't work that way." Another said, "She made her family part of the brand. If she didn't want them mentioned, she should have kept them off camera and out of stories." It wasn't just a meltdown, it was a moment where the audience realized Jane doesn't just tell stories, she wants to control them. And when she feels that control slipping, she reacts. What happened next was a tidal wave of viewer response. Some longtime fans expressed sadness, others blunt disappointment, and plenty didn't hold back. "I used to adore Jane," one viewer wrote, "but that moment felt like she was scolding us. It made me shut off the channel." Others called it manipulative, One comment read, "That wasn't about her kids, that was about shutting down criticism, and it was uncomfortable to watch." The internet responded quickly. TikToks went viral, replaying the moment. Reddit threads dissected it from every angle. Even quiet Facebook fan groups started to fill with people saying what they'd been thinking for years. One thread read simply, "Is it just me? Or has Jane become unbearable to watch?" And the replies? Hundreds of them, all in agreement. The truth is, the backlash didn't start with that one comment. It just exposed what fans had already been feeling. Here's what they say keeps happening. Jane interrupts co-hosts and guests constantly. She shares long-winded personal stories that overshadow the actual product. Her emotions feel rehearsed, like every item is the most meaningful thing ever. She rarely lets vendors explain their items without inserting herself. And she speaks to the audience in a way that some now call patronizing. One viewer summed it up best. "I tune in for shopping, not a therapy session, but Jane's turned QVC into her personal diary." But it's not just about Jane's tone, it's about QVC's audience and how it's changing. Younger viewers are discovering QVC through social media, short-form clips, and live streams. They're used to hosts who are casual, transparent, and relatable. No frills, no fluff. And when they see Jane, it doesn't click. To them, her delivery feels outdated, like a character from a different era trying to perform sincerity. Meanwhile, hosts like Steve Doss and Rosina Grosso are earning praise for doing the opposite, being low-key, honest, and letting the product speak for itself. Jane, once praised for her sparkle, is now seen by some as trying too hard. And in today's media landscape, trying too hard is the fastest way to lose your audience. Here's where it gets tricky. Jane Treacy isn't just a host. She's a symbol, an institution. To remove her, or even publicly acknowledge the controversy, would be like admitting something's broken at QVC. And that is a risk the network doesn't seem willing to take. So far, they've remained silent. No comment, no apology, no subtle schedule shift. But that silence, it's louder than any press release. Because viewers notice. They see the schedule, they see the comments ignored, and they see the network pretending nothing's wrong. But something is wrong. So what happens now? At this point, QVC has two choices. They can double down, keep Jane front and center, and risk further backlash, especially as younger hosts rise in popularity. Or they can start to quietly phase her out, pulling her from prime time, reducing her hours, and hoping her exit fades quietly. But either move has consequences. Because Jane's remaining fans, they're passionate, loyal, fiercely defensive. And her critics, they're getting louder. As one viewer put it, QVC can't keep pretending she's the same host she was in 1998. She's not. And the audience isn't either. People aren't mad for no reason. This isn't a mob. It's not cancel culture. It's decades of loyalty eroding. Fans who followed Jane for 10, 20, even 30 years are now saying, "This isn't the QVC I fell in love with." And if QVC doesn't listen, they won't just lose Jane's audience, they'll lose their trust. Because trust, once broken, doesn't come back with a new promo or a clearance sale. It takes change, real change. So what do you think? Has Jane Treacy simply failed to evolve with her audience? Or is this just another example of how unforgiving the internet has become? Is she being unfairly criticized? Or is she finally being held accountable? Let us know in the comments below. Because your voice, it's the one QVC needs to hear most right now. And if this backlash tells us anything, it's this. Even the biggest stars aren't immune. And for Jane Treacy, the clock is ticking,